Well, good evening, WNBA and LA Sparks fans, and welcome back to the LA Sparks 365 Network, your 24/7, 365 comprehensive home of the WNBA, and your two-time WNBA champion, LA Sparks. Hello again, everybody, and welcome into the two-man show of record for the second to last time, or the last time at least before the big show tomorrow night. Welcome back, folks, here to the Guys with the Petition here, folks. Tonight's topics, folks, include the Sparks trip to Dodger Stadium, and again, above all, folks, the reason why I'm wearing this fire hat tonight, folks, in case you're wondering again, we'll talk about the ongoing situation down here in my city of San Diego. With that man in the hangout, Chris Woodmansey at the In and Heart Studios up there in Anaheim, California, joining us via his cell phone on his iPod because of the extreme temperatures down here right now in SoCal. Chris, good evening, man. How's it hanging on this flaming hot Wednesday night?
Just not very good because once it's very hot, also something happens to me, right here. So, yeah, which I didn't went out today, went to work, but if that happens tomorrow, it probably will happen.
All right, folks. You guys can either tweet us or click on our black box on your folks and join our live Q&A here, folks. You guys can tweet to us at LA Sparks 365. And use the hashtag TGWTP. Okay, Chris, before we get to the talk here of the Sparks, man, we have to really talk about this for a while, though, man, because it is affecting one of our home areas here, Chris. So we are talking about the ongoing fire situation down here, Chris, in San Diego, California, man. Folks, if you have not seen it on local news on Twitter or Facebook as of late, if you're not in the area or not in San Diego, or at least you've heard about it, folks, but we have 9 different fires, folks, burning across our county right now that have claimed many homes, have forced a lot of evacuations, folks, and it has really been a long, depressing day because it is really hot, folks. It's been about 98, 96 degrees down here. No wind, or the wind's been very hot, folks, and the fires have been spreading like mad disease. And a lot of our neighbors in the San Diego area, folks, have been displaced. They have been evacuated, forced out of their homes, and unfortunately, a lot of people have lost their property, and they are going to be coming home to a lot of rumble and ruins, folks, and it's very heartbreaking to see, folks. And I am triple tasking, folks. I am right now going from the show to my television behind me, which was on my local news, and back to my computer behind this one, which is giving me the live updates here from my local news stations down here in San Diego. Chris, I mean, I know that we're going to talk about the big day the Sparks had at Dodger Stadium, Chris, but, like I said earlier in the day, man, that, life, that at least today, Chris, that, the value of life weighs more than the world of sports for one day because it is affecting, Chris, where I live. I mean, at least right now, Chris, I am safe, from the fire right now because it is, about a good 20 miles north of where I live. But, Chris, in any instant here with these wildfires, man, they have been spreading like mad, and one could start very quick, man. And, I am safe, folks, but I do have a few, some family and a few friends that right now are being evacuated from their homes. Some of them are okay, but some have been evacuated as a precautionary reason, Chris. And, at least today, Chris, like we talked about, Chris, with Candace Parker bouncing her scales about, being a basketball player one day, Chris, and being a mom another day, Chris. At least in my terms today, Chris, the value of my life weighs way heavier than the sporting life today, Chris. And unfortunately, Chris, it's going to be very depressing when some people that have been evacuated, Chris, come home to their property and it's gone up in flames and it is just a bunch of ash and ruins.
Yep, agree.
So again, folks, we will ask of you again if you can do so, whether you are religious at all or not. I mean, we're just asking for everyone to keep the entire city, folks, of San Diego and the entire county in your thoughts and prayers through the remainder of the weekend, folks. We're looking to get a break from the action finally with this not average May weather here, folks, which has just been really out of proportion, folks, with just the ongoing fire situation here, folks. And we have just gotten word, folks, from NBC7 down here in San Diego that they have ordered 600 more evacuations, mandatory evacuations, in the following areas: Elfin Forest, Indian Ridge Drive, Crestwood Road, Wilgen Drive and Bressa de Loma Drive areas in San Marcos. So we will keep everyone posted and updated with the ongoing issues here with this ongoing story. And Chris, I know that you don't live down here, man, but at the same time, Chris, you have to kind of consider here that, you know, the value of many people's lives are on the line. And Chris, for all that could happen, man, this could be going on too in Anaheim. I remember a few years back, Chris, about '07, the last time we had big fires in California, man, it was all throughout SoCal we had it. We had them down here in San Diego. The fires were up in LA in the Orange County, Chris. So I'm advising everyone. I'm not a fire chief, folks, so don't even bother saying that I know about the fire department, folks, just because I'm wearing a fire department hat. But Chris, I would advise every person, not just in San Diego, Chris, but across SoCal, in LA and OC, Chris, to be ready just in case something does happen. And folks, if you are asked to evacuate your property, please don't be the dumbass idiot most people are, and please leave your property and please evacuate, because we don't want to lose you as well as possibly lose your property and home, Chris. So, I mean, if you are told to evacuate, folks, please do the right thing. Please think outside the box. Don't be an idiot, and please leave your property and do so in a timely fashion.
Yep, agreed.
So, okay, Chris, we're going to put the fire on hold for right now, Chris. We'll probably come back to it if I have any updates for you folks, because, again, I'm going to be going from here, back there to my television, back here to my main spot over here. But, Chris, big night tonight at Dodger Stadium, Chris. We're our LA Sparks. We're on hand, Chris, for Sparks Night at the game at this point in time. Chris, I mean, we know that we've seen a lot of things included here with the Sparks going on. We've basically retweeted every single freaking thing included here. Chris, we knew it was going to happen sometime soon where Magic Johnson, Chris, would cross-promote. He would bring his WNBA franchise, Chris, whether the fans liked it or not, because it's the WNBA, and he brought his product, Chris, to a Dodger game. I mean, Chris, we knew it was going to happen, man, and in your mind, do you think, though, Chris, that this will help possibly drive up attendance this year at Sparks games? If, in fact, Chris, any Dodger players that were there, like Matt Kemp and Helen Mears, Chris, and Puig, do you think, Chris, that with this tonight, does this possibly, Chris, bring in Dodger players or fans to the Sparks games this summer at Staples Center?
Yeah, I think it will, since Magic Johnson also bought the Sparks, and since he had pretty much the whole LA Sparks at tonight's game, LA Sparks night, and I think he'll probably draw a lot of Dodger players, fans to the Sparks games.
Chris, I know that in the past, I think I saw Yasiel Puig at a game last year. I know he was at a Laker game and a Sparks game. I know that much, Chris. I know that Candace Parker and Matt Kemp are kind of close friends, so he might come out to a game, Chris. But in all fashion, man, I thought it was a very well done product. I haven't seen the videos yet. I know they're going to be probably on Dodgers.com. I know we despise the Dodgers, Chris, but I think this was very, very well done, Chris. How Magic got all the players their own jerseys. You know, everyone did something in some fashion, whether it was Candace and that'd be ace 3 people in NECA throwing out the first pitch. You had Elena Beard on her 32nd birthday, and Lindsey Harding announced the lineup for the Dodgers. You had everyone else, Chris, say, you know, the great phrase of it's time for Dodgers baseball over the PA, Chris. So I think it was a very well done product, Chris, and I'm pretty sure, Chris, that the fan base that was there probably appreciated, Chris, seeing these great athletes out there at the game tonight.
Yep, agreed.
Chris, by the way, I have a update here, Chris, and it is from Twitter. I do have to share this, folks, in regards to this ongoing with the ongoing fires down here in San Diego, folks. They have just tweeted out a photo, Chris, from a. They have tweeted out, Chris, a photo from Shadow Ridge Vista in San Marcos. It's now being called the Cocos Fire. And, Chris, this is a very small photo, Chris, but it is a very, very frightening and very, very alarming photo, to say the least, Chris, of a eerie sunset here in San Diego. And, Chris, I know it's a very small, man, but look at how frightening that sunset looks.
Yeah.
So again, folks, we will continue, folks, to monitor this ongoing situation in San Diego over the course of tomorrow, when we do come on tomorrow and Friday, folks. By the way, I really hate to do this, folks. But it sounds like there will be no pregame on Friday because we'll be celebrating my birthday on Friday because Saturday I'm busy and booked. So, folks, we'll have no pregame, unfortunately, on Friday night. I'll be out at dinner somewhere. But don't worry, folks. All of our new shows will debut Friday night following the game, folks. So, again, we'll have Buzzer Beater, LA the W, and the Fabulous Form, folks, debuting on Friday night. But, again, folks, due to the birthday weekend on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it's a big deal around here, folks. Again, no pregame show at 6:30 on Friday night. Chris, getting back over to the event tonight, Chris, again, Chris, a very well done product, a very well done job by Matty Johnson and the Sparks tonight, Chris. Again, a very fun night out at the ballpark. Again, Chris, it was very fun to see all the players out there with all of them as well. Chris, again, I do have to go back, Chris, to the photo that Candace Wiggins posted today on Instagram, Chris, where she had the caption of R.I.P. Alan Wiggins with the love sign in the number 2, Chris. Chris, before we get to the topic of Candace off the wall here with this, but again, Chris, like I said in the last show, man, and like I will say every time I want to get a chance, because she is a local player from San Diego, Chris, is, I think with Candace, Chris, going back to the baseball stadium where she went many times with her dad, Chris, when she was younger, when he was in San Diego playing for the Padres in the '84 season when they went to the World Series, and then with her dad dying, Chris, from AIDS, the only player in baseball to die from that disease, Chris, she really has not been the same. And you can tell, Chris, every time she's made a three-pointer in her career, she's always has done this at the arena ceiling or, stuff like that, Chris, because whenever, Chris, you lose a parent, whether it's death or divorce or some way, Chris, it hurts you in a very, very large way. I know that you felt it firsthand. I was separated from my dad for a few years because of family internal problems, Chris. And especially, Chris, if it's losing your parent to an illness or a disease like AIDS, it really hurts. And above all, Chris, when it happens so fast, when you're at such a young age, Chris, when it happened, it weighs heavy on your mind, Chris, and she's really been very close to her dad, even after he's been dead and buried and gone, Chris. I mean, she started her own foundation for finding a cure for AIDS. She changed her number, Chris, last year from 11 to her dad's number of number 2, Chris. So Chris, she's really done a lot to kind of keep her dad's spirit alive, and that's what I really have loved seeing with her over the past time that she's been in the league, Chris, when she's signed with the Sparks, and it's been very, very heartwarming to see that happen.
Yep, agreed.
But, Chris, staying with this topic here, on the lighter side of what I just talked about, Chris, is, again, Candace Wiggins wearing that damn Dodger blue. Now, again, Chris, I know that Alan, her dad, was, I believe, Chris, drafted by the Dodgers, but he made, Chris, the smart move and didn't sign with the Dodgers. Instead, he signed with the San Diego Padres, where they went to the World Series in '84, Chris. I wonder, how much do you think, Chris, Candace Wiggins just despised having that Dodger blue on her body today?
She probably hated it so bad. I don't know, we probably didn't know, or I'm pretty sure she probably went to the restroom, she probably threw up probably.
Chris, I was tempted today to tweet her because Chris, this is how bad the high school baseball game was I was covering, Chris, because I was running the scoreboard today. I spent more time on my phone retweeting Chris, because all those retweets, Chris, were during the game because it finished 11-0 the other team. Because it was just that ugly and embarrassing of a game today, Chris, that I spent more time tweeting and shit on my phone than watching the game I was supposed to be working because it got that ugly. But, Chris, I really think, though, and I thought I was this close, Chris, to tweeting.
No, you played it.
That jersey makes me sick, Candace, and I'm hoping it makes you sick, too, that you're wearing that damn Dodger blue.
Yep, that's why I was, right when Candace Wiggins tweeted that, I was staring at my notification, getting ready to see a notification from you tweeting.
Chris, I was pretty close, man, but I'm probably going to ask her on Sunday. You're still a Padre fan, right, because you're from San Diego, correct? I'm probably going to be doing that on Sunday night, Chris. But, Chris, in my view, I think she still is a Padre fan because I don't think, Chris, she would up and just diss the Padres because she's playing with the Sparks now. I mean, he's from here. Her dad played for the Padres, Chris. He was on that first team that went to the World Series in '84, Chris. And, Chris, real quick, too, on another serious note, Chris, next weekend when the Padres, ironically, Chris, play the Cubs, who they beat in the '84 NLCS, Chris, they are honoring the 30th anniversary of the '84 team that went to the World Series, Chris. So it wouldn't be a big surprise if Candace is down here that weekend to remember her dad one more time for what he was a part of in that magical season of 1984.
Yep, agree.
Chris, staying with the Dodger Stadium side of things, Chris, a lot of tweets from the players today, Chris. Elena Beard tweeted today, Chris, hashtag Lights Magic Sparks and hashtag LA Dodgers. JLab, Chris tweets, my team is the best, start of something special. And then, Chris, just a lot of ongoing photos, Chris. And Chris, also real quick, man, we got to do this here on the network because I feel pretty bad for not saying it right now, Chris. But happy 32nd birthday, Chris, to Elena Beard celebrating the Big 3-2 today at the Dodger game, Chris. I don't quite understand, though, Chris, those Harry Potter-like glasses she's got on, though. But, Chris, a happy birthday, though, to Elena Beard, Chris, and we wish her nothing but the best. And hopefully she enjoyed her day despite the Dodgers getting rolled by the Marlins tonight, like 13-2, I think. But hopefully, Chris, she had a fun day with the team.
Yep, agreed.
Okay, Chris, you know last year that the Sparks were also at a game last season, which involved KT, Lindsay, Candace Parker, and Nneka Gumake, where Lindsay and KT did the It's Time for Dodgers Baseball introduction, Chris, where Candace and Nneka threw out the first pitch, which had Candace spike the pitch in, and you had Nneka throw the perfect strike, Chris. So how do you think they did tonight?
It probably was the opposite. Probably it was a...
You think Nneka spiked it this time and not Candace?
Yeah.
We'll see what happens, Chris. But again, the Sparks spending their day, a little team bonding at a LA Dodgers game tonight, folks. You guys can probably go check either CJ's close-up perhaps on Sparks.com or Dodgers.com perhaps maybe for the videos perhaps from the festivities today, folks. And also, Chris, what was cool, the players were there, Chris, up until the 4th inning, at least giving autographs to the fans tonight, so that was very good to see. So, Chris, a day off here to rest and have fun, and then, Chris, get back to business tomorrow, and then Friday, we get to work on Friday night in Seattle, Washington.
Yep, agreed. Can't wait.
So, again, folks, the clock ticking down to soon to be only 2 days, folks, until the start of the season tomorrow. At least 1 day away, folks, from the regular season opener on Friday night up in Seattle. 7 o'clock game time on Time Warner Cable Sportsnet with Jim Watson and Mary Murphy calling the game on Time Warner Cable Sportsnet with Access Sportsnet coming up at 6:30 on Time Warner Cable Sportsnet. Again, Chris, we talked about this, I think, a couple weeks ago, Chris, but I want to go back to it here, Chris, is again, the traveling circus. Now, again, Chris, we know the Sparks are on the road on Friday in Seattle at the Key Arena, Chris, facing the Storm Crazies and the Seattle Storm. But again, Chris, we talked about this, and I want to get your take on this. Since the league, Chris, knows about what occurred over the offseason, any chance in your mind, Chris, that in some very small capacity, do the Storm fans give a little bit of a small ovation to the Sparks on Friday night when they are introduced for pregame lineups?
Probably maybe just a little standing ovation, and then after that, probably the whole fans probably be chanting that beat LA probably.
Chris, I think the fan bases around the WNBA are aware of what occurred, and I know that they really helped out a lot with their petition campaign as well over the offseason, Chris. But I think the traveling zoo and traveling circus, Chris, will be like this, and I think there's going to be some ovation in some small fashion because, Chris, we know about what makes the fan bases of this league so fantastic and so great and so awesome is, is we don't discriminate against who you root for, we don't kill people and stuff like that, Chris, and all that other junk we talk about a lot in other pro leagues. But I think, Chris, what occurs here, as real quick, folks, again, before I get back to this, but again, folks, this coming in here to my Twitter feed here, but the evacuation order has been lifted for an area of East El Camino Real near the I-5 north-south of Alga Road in Carlsbad from the Poinsettia fire today, folks. So again, the evacuation order lifted for the area east of El Camino Real, south of Alga Road in Carlsbad, up here in San Diego, again, from the ongoing fires. But again, Chris, I think the traveling zoo will work like this. I think for the first time they go to somebody's arena, there's going to be that ovation. Same time around, Chris, it'll be the regular you know, the boos, the you sucks, the BLA chants and that stuff. But I think, Chris, again, because what makes us so great, Chris, is, again, we know about what we don't do like other pro leagues, Chris, you know, is we bash each other, bash the team, or stuff like that, Chris. We know about, you know, what makes us so great. But I think, Chris, fans realize, though, Chris, that this could have been their own team. And I think they're going to get, I think they got that in their mind, Chris, that, you know, this could have been, the, you know, like the Storm fans, Chris, think like, you know, hey, this could have been the Storm. You know, this could have been the Mercury. This could have been the Lynx. This could have been the Sun. This could have been, you know, yada, 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 Chris. And they realize that, Chris, and I think there will be some type of ovation from the opposing fans on the road, because you know about the home court advantage, Chris, at the big office at Staples Center. But I think, Chris, I truly humbly believe, Chris, that there will be some ovation from the fan bases out there, because, like I said, Chris, this could have been their own team in this same predicament out there somewhere.
Yep, agree. It could have been their team.
Again, folks, going back to San Diego Firewatch here, but I don't have a tweet up here on my regular laptop, but someone, Chris, took a photo of a fire-colored moon in Carlsbad, courtesy of Daniel S. From the Poinsettia Fire, Chris, and it is a very haunting image, Chris, of the moon being just looking like it's the sun, basically, Chris, from all the ash and the smoke up in the air. And, Chris, one more Justin tweet here from the local news. The Westfield Plaza Camino Real temporary evacuation point is now closed. Calvera Hills Community Center or La Crosse Canyon High School remain open, but the Westfield Plaza temporary evacuation point has been closed until further notice. Calvera Hills Community Center and La Crosse Canyon High remain open for the residents up in that area if you are joining us here on the Sparks Network. Okay, Chris, we're going to talk about the big day out on Sunday. You know, we're about 4 going on CP 3 days away, man, from the big day up there at Staples Center, man. Free T-shirts, a long drive ahead of me, man. But again, like I said, man, probably the most fun and most exciting birthday that I will have in perhaps 10 years. When I was younger, and I got to announce the Padres lineup at least during a inning at least at Qualcomm Stadium back in 2003, Chris. But again, man, remember, everyone going there is not going there for my birthday. They're going there for the game, Chris, so keep that in mind. They're not there to celebrate my birthday. They're there to watch the game. But again, Chris, any sort of thoughts on who I do bump chests with at the game? We know about me, more likely, Chris, seeing Candace Parker at the game, seeing Candace Wiggins at the game beforehand to get autographs and stuff. But, Chris, what do you think, though, as far as fans that know us personally because of the petition?
Probably, for sure. Jack Nick, probably, for sure. Vicky Russo, probably. Despise, you probably run into someone. You probably know that. Yeah. Yeah.
Chris, I think it's basically going to be Chris. It's more than likely, Chris, going to be Jack Nick. It's going to more than likely be Vicky. It's probably going to be Snow Days 85 up there on Twitter. Could be T-Well for all that I know, and who knows what's going to happen with that exchange, perhaps. But again, Chris, you know, it's interesting, man, to see who I do bump into. And again, I'm probably going to tweet out again where I'm sitting in case anyone is going to the home opener out there on May 18th against Phoenix. But again, Chris, I really wish I had the fast forward button on my remote control here that I could use to fast forward to Sunday already, because I can't contain the excitement anymore, man, because it's ready to just freaking explode or go up in flames, because I cannot contain myself any longer, Chris, to know that I'm probably, this close to seeing, the best WNBA player in the world, regardless if she has a championship ring or not on her finger, Chris. The multiple-time MVP and, in Candace Parker play. I'm gonna see DT play, and Brittany Griner, who's like 6'8" in person. I'm gonna see her play as well, man. And Chris, and above all, I'm spending it with my dad. And again, he's not really the biggest WNBA aficionado out there. It's more so my mom and myself that are fans. My brother's kind of iffy sometimes. Some of the players, though, in the league. But again, Chris, it's just more so, enjoying my birthday with my dad. and spending some quality father-son time, Chris. And above all, my first time going to Staples Center as well, man. So I wouldn't trade it for anything else.
Yep, agreed.
So again, folks, you will more than likely see my IG account and Twitter just get completely blown out of the water, folks, on Sunday night or Sunday. So if you got Twitter notifications on for me like Chris does, might want to turn them off because they're going to be coming out of the woodwork every few minutes or so, folks. So be warned if you are doing that to me on Twitter like Chris does with the tweet notifications, folks. So just a fair warning about Sunday. But again, folks, Sparks Mercury home opener May 18th, 6 p.m. T-shirt night giveaway to the first 5,000 fans. 6 p.m. game time. Game can be seen on Time Warner Cable Sportsnet or Time Warner Cable Deportes. Chris, staying with the home opener side of things, Chris, again, we know about the possible size of the crowd, about 13,000, a sellout crowd, Chris. But again, Chris, I think this happens still regarding Magic. And I think he's gonna do it, Chris. He's gonna leave that Dodger road trip over the weekend to Arizona to watch the Sparks play their home opener, Chris. And Chris, I truly believe, Chris, that I think Magic and Stan at least, or Magic and Mark more than likely, will leave that road trip to go to the home opener, Chris. And real quick, I do have to throw this out there again, Chris, but here's the latest numbers, folks, in case you're wondering. The latest burned acres in the fires ongoing here in San Diego, folks. The Tomahawk Fire up north, 6,000. Poinsettia Fire, 400. The Highway 15 Fire, 600. Bernardo Fire, 1548. Cocos Fire, 500. And the Freeway Fire at 30. The Lakeside Fire, 17. And the Escondido one for Chris, a grand total of 9,196 acres of land has been burned in the 9 fires across the county of San Diego. But again, Chris, going back on track here again, folks, keeping up here with the fires ongoing here in San Diego. But again, Chris, do you believe that Magic and Mark leave the Dodger road trip on Saturday to come to the Sparks home opener on Sunday night?
Yep, I think so, since it's the home opener of his new team, his Sparks that he bought, and I think he'll leave the road trip to come see his Sparks home opener this Sunday.
Chris, do you at all imagine, Chris, because we know that Magic still has the ties to the Lakers, any small chance Magic recruits a few Laker players or some of his old-time teammates like Byron Scott, Coach Miller, I was going to say Michael Cooper, but he's coaching the Dream now, Chris. But do you think, Chris, that Magic calls up a few of his ex-teammates to invite him out to the game on Sunday night, perhaps?
Probably, yeah.
Because, Chris, I mean, you know, I would say this, Chris, and I think truly here, Chris, is I think all of Magic's teammates, Chris, I think they're very excited and very happy and proud of Magic, Chris, for what he's done over the past few years, Chris, and buying, you know, the most recognizable California baseball team in the Dodgers, and then, Chris, now buying the most recognizable and well-known WNBA franchise in the Sparks, Chris. You know, and I think somebody comes. And I think Magic, Chris, either invites Kareem, Jerry West maybe. You know, he could invite out, you know, Byron Scott. I would have said Michael Cooper, Chris, if he wasn't coaching Atlanta, because Chris, I know if Coop wasn't coaching Atlanta, Chris, he would be there. He would be there in a heartbeat because he is a former Sparks head coach, Chris. But Chris, in your mind, though, play it out for us here. I mean, other than either players, Chris, in your mind, what former players or A-list celebrities in your mind show up to this game?
Probably for sure Jack Black. I don't know.
I mean, Chris, I mean, I think I have a few here, and I will say these out real quick, Chris. But I think it's a go for Jack Black. We know that Magic might show up to the game with him and Stan and Bobby and Mark Walter, but I think, Chris, I think it's gonna be Jack Black. I'll say Jessica Alba shows up because she's also a big Sparks fan. I think Floyd Mayweather shows up as well at his courtside seat. And I think as well, Chris, looking at it, I might say the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Anthony Kiedis, Chris, and Flea are big Laker fans. They've been season ticket holders, Chris, for a long, long time, going back to the Forum days, so they might show up, perhaps, Chris, as well. And then I think, some big movie star, Chris, like a Leonardo DiCaprio, maybe, Matt Damon, who was in the movie Elysium, Jodie Foster. Chris, Arnold Schwarzenegger could probably show up, Chris, because you never know who might go to Staples Center events, Chris. But and Chris, for all I know, damn Justin Bieber could show up perhaps because he's at almost every other damn Staples Center event, like the Kings games or the Clipper games or Laker games, Chris. So, Chris, in my view, it's more so it's like you never know who's going to come to Staples Center, Chris, and we'll see what happens on Sunday night, Chris. And you never know, I might lock horns with one of those famous people and get a photo and autograph, perhaps, man. So who knows?
Yeah, but I was probably gonna say. I don't know because I think they're coming. Yeah, they're coming to Los Angeles. I might say I don't know. Kevin Durant, maybe.
Chris, KD might come, but I think he was more so there to see his ex-girlfriend Monica Wright when she was coming to play with the Lynx, perhaps. As far as like other players, Chris, you never know, man. You very well might see someone from the Angels or Ducks show up, perhaps, man, because you never know about if they're big basketball fans, Chris. You never know who might show up there too as well. They might get booed out of the arena because they're playing for the Angels or the Ducks, the two big rivals of the Dodgers and Kings, Chris. But you never know, and also, and I'll also say, Chris, I think perhaps sometime during the season, I think Matt Kemp will show up, Puig will show up, Kershaw might show up, Chris. But I think with the Sparks, Chris, going to the Dodger game tonight, that there is that bridge, Chris. That bridge is formed, and there's that bridge, Chris. That now Dodger players, Chris, when there's an off day. And the Sparks are playing, Chris, that they will go and support their sister franchise, I guess, now that Magic has both those teams.
Yep, agreed.
So again, folks, Sparks home opener in 4 more days on May 18th, 6 p.m. against the longtime rivals, folks, the Phoenix Mercury. Game time set for 6 p.m. on Time Warner Cable Sportsnet on opening night T-shirt giveaway night. Chris, I want to go back here and revisit the story we talked about involving the Sparks and the Mercury, Chris, because we know that there is unfinished business, Chris, for the Sparks about the postseason last year, Chris. But again, I'm wondering aloud, Chris, as to why is this game not being shown on ESPN2? Because, Chris, like I told Shorty and yourself and someone else, Chris, this is the last original running rivalry from 1997, Chris. This is the longest running rivalry, Chris, in the entire league history. And why are you not putting the best rivalry in the league on ESPN2 when you have your contract set through 2027, Chris? I know that the future 2 games, I think, Chris, with the Mercury, home and away, are on ESPN2, Chris. But why not the first home opener, Chris, for the Sparks after the entire debacle we sat through for those 35 days during the offseason, Chris? Why is this game not on ESPN2?
I know. I don't know why.
I mean, Chris, there's probably other commitments, perhaps. With baseball, they probably have NASCAR or drag racing going on Sunday on ESPN2, Chris. But again, Chris, this is the only remaining surviving rivalry, Chris, that, if you forgot already, folks, nearly ended this past offseason, have the Sparks folded or left for the Bay Area, Chris. Because I think, Chris, had the Sparks left for the Bay Area, Chris, the rivalry wouldn't be the same because it's not the Spark, it's not LA and Phoenix, Chris. It'd be Phoenix and Golden Bay, Golden State or Bay Area, Chris. But, this is, Chris. I'll say it, Chris, but this is the only remaining original Elite Eight rivalry, Chris, from 1997, Chris. Because the Monarchs are gone. The Utah Stars are in San Antonio. Who else am I thinking of here, Chris? The Comets are gone. Detroit's gone, Chris. So, Chris, the Minnesota, Chris, the Sparks in Minnesota, Chris, that's not even a rivalry. I mean, if we're talking rivalries, Chris, we're talking long-running rivalries, Chris. Long-running rivalry, Chris. Best one in the WNBA, Chris, regardless of what everyone says. Sparks and the Mercury. And again, why is this game not being shown on national television?
Yep, agreed.
But again, folks, Sparks and the Mercury, the long-running rivalry, folks. The Sparks and Phoenix, May 18th, 6 p.m. T-shirt night, opening night giveaway at 6 p.m. at Staples Center on Time Warner Cable Sportsnet and Time Warner Cable Deportes. Folks, going back to the fire watch down here in San Diego, folks, we just have a report that the Santee School District is closed tomorrow and Friday. So, Chris, basically everyone down here in San Diego is out of school tomorrow and Friday because of the fire.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, folks, to find out more with this, if you are in the area or if you are wanting to find out more, folks, just log on to Twitter.com and look up anything involving San Diego, and you'll find plenty of news about it as well. But again, folks, it sounds more than likely like, folks, all the schools in the county of San Diego are officially closed from class tomorrow. Tomorrow and Friday, at least. And again, folks, the latest reports in, but over 9,000 acres have burned in the county of San Diego. Chris, before we get out of here for the night, man, let's kind of real quickly, Chris, sort of talk about tomorrow night, Chris. Again, tomorrow night is our last show for the petition campaign, Chris, before we close up shop with that petition, man, and we talk about the WNBA, Chris. Again, we're working on, folks, getting on one of our other organizers, folks, which would be Shirley Mama 24, and or, folks, Tranisha Hardy, all the way in South Carolina, folks, to come onto our show tomorrow night to join him, Chris. Because again, Chris, without those two, man, it wouldn't be the same if it was just us two and no one else, Chris. But again, Chris, it's going to be a fun show. It's going to be a long show, man. But what are you really excited about for tomorrow night?
Just to get pumped up for the season and for the last time to talk about the petition and going to be throwback to the petition on Twitter and everything.
So again, folks, tomorrow on Twitter, you will see the link reposted to the Sparks petition. You cannot sign it, folks, because it is closed and locked up, and we cannot reopen it, folks, but it is a throwback Thursday to what we were doing for 35 consecutive days on Twitter, which was posting that link to you, folks, to sign the petition, folks. So again, you will see the petition link, folks, but again, you cannot sign it because, again, folks, it is closed and victory has already been claimed, so you cannot add on your name to our petition, folks. But again, tomorrow night, 9 to 11 tomorrow night, folks, our 2-hour finale of the petition show tomorrow night. Again, the guys with the petition, the Sparks Watch 2014 recap tomorrow night, 9 to 11, right here on the LA Sparks 365 network. Chris, as we close for the night, man, what do you got to say for yourself as we get out of here for the night?
Just hope everyone in San Diego stay safe.
So again, folks, we do ask of you, folks, again, to please keep the city of San Diego in your thoughts and prayers, folks. And we have 9 different fires burning in our county right now, folks. We again over 9,000 acres have burned. So again, folks, we will leave you off on the note of, again, folks, just please keep the city of San Diego, and everyone here in my city, please keep them in your thoughts and prayers because, again, folks, today life really does. Again, today, Chris, like I said tonight, man, you know, like we said, man, about Candace Parker. Again, we know about Lady Justice holding out the law skills, Chris. You know, holding him out there, and Chris, balancing act. One day you're a better basketball player, Chris. One day you're a better mom. But today, Chris, the weight of life is way heavier, Chris, than what goes on in the sports world today, Chris. So again, we do thank everyone out there that has sent me some good vibes, folks. But again, I am actually okay from the fire right now. But right now, our latest report here, folks, from Twitter, as we get out here for the night, folks, our latest update here. I think I'm going to close my computer here, folks. But right now, 5 fires remain burning right now up here in San Diego. The other 4 have been. It looks like, folks, have been extinguished. But again, folks, we still though have 5 different fires burning as of 10:40 p.m. right now on Wednesday night. So again, folks, as we leave you for the night, again, folks, please keep San Diego, California in your thoughts and prayers as we try our best to rebuild from the ongoing fire here in California, in San Diego, folks. But again, over 9,000 acres burned, many families displaced and without homes, perhaps because of the flames. But again, folks, we'll see you folks tomorrow night for the guys with the petition, the 2014 Sparks Watch recap show, 9 to 11 here tomorrow night on the LA Sparks. 365 network, folks. Thank you all for watching. Please have a safe night. Drive home safely. Thank you all for coming. And good night now. This is the LA Sparks. 365 network, folks. We are Sparks. We are LA.